You know your numbers for this year? 2025 has a numerology of 9, which is all about completion, endings, humanitarianism, priorities, self sacrifice, and mastery. If you know what your life path number is, you can actually use that to figure out what opportunities and challenges you might experience in this year. So, looking at 2025, we get to keep in mind that we have four different frequencies, well, three different frequencies that play into the 9. So, those are the digits 2, 0, and 5 from 2025. If we look at each of those numbers individually, we can see that they each offer a look at how this year will flow through a sequence, starting from the beginning all the way through to the end. So 2 is the number of relationships, it's diplomacy, tact, and refinement. And in the beginning portion of this year, we're going to be invited to look at the relationship that we have with ourselves, how it is that we choose ourselves, how it is that we honor ourselves, how it is that we relate to ourselves, because this sets the standard for how we relate to every other person in our lives. Then from there, we move into the phase of 0, which is symbolic of the void, of the pause, the all, the space in between, which can be seen as an invitation to come back to center. After moving through these deeper layers of the relationship that we have with ourselves, we get to come back to our center, pause, be with this essence that stands underneath those other layers. And from there, we get to experience yet an even deeper relationship with ourselves in the vibration of 2, also allowing us to foster better relationships with other people in whatever degree and whatever aspect. Then from there, the phase of 5 is freedom, it's liberation, it's change, it's transformation, it's enjoying what life has to offer. It can also be distraction and scattered energy. And the phase of 5 gives an invitation for us to enjoy the fruits of our labor, to enjoy each moment to moment as it passes by, while still remaining focused on what it is that we're looking to create, whatever it is that our intentions are. When we add these digits up, we get the number 9, which is that number of completion. And if we look at it from a numerological perspective, we could briefly say that 2025 is an invitation to deepen the relationship that we have with ourselves while also staying true to our inner essence and our connection, creating space in between the moments to be here now, thus empowering us to have better relationships, stronger relationships and connections with the people around us. In doing so, we are enjoying what life has to offer for us, which is the gift of love, the gift of connection with other people, the reflection that we get to have when we interact with things outside of ourselves as well. And this is kind of a general theme that everyone is going to be experiencing on some degree in the year of 2025. Now, how they experience it specifically is going to depend on quite a few things. And when we look at numerology, we always look at the personal numerology. The first layer of understanding how your numerology is going to interact within a certain period of time or with another number or another frequency is looking at what your life path number is. If you know what your life path number is, which is the most important number in your numerology chart, this is the number that is calculated with your date of birth. If you don't know what your life path number is, then you can calculate it pretty easily by using your date of birth. You could type it into Google if you wanted to. I'm just weary of how it is that people calculate because there's different processes and different processes can get you different numbers depending on the type of numerology method that you are following. If you want to follow the method that I practice that comes from intuitive numerology, which I teach, you can download the life path ebook and it shows you step by step how to calculate your life path number. Once you have the life path number, we're going to be doing two very, very simple operations, and that is going to be addition and subtraction. Within all of that, there is going to be what we call reduction in numerology, which is where we combine digits to come down to a single digit cardinal number, which is 1 through 9, or a master number 11, 22, or 33. So the first operation is going to be addition between the numerology of the year, which is 9, we have as a single digit, and your life path number. And in this video, I'm going to be going through every single one of the life path numbers. So if you are one of the later ones, you can go ahead and skip ahead if you want to. So if we're going to do this operation with the number 1, the first life path, then we're going to take 9 and add it to 1. That's going to give us 10. And then with the reduction process that we're going to use, we're going to come back to the number 1. 1 plus 0 is 1. So the addition that we do shows us the opportunity, the potential that is available to us within that context or within that frequency. So a life path 1 in 2025 has a potential of what the number 1 is. Okay? And potential number 1 is an opportunity to do things in a new way, to maybe discover a new method of operation, to shift a perspective, to experience new opportunities, to step forward in one's own leadership as well. And we can discover how they can do that by looking at the difference or the variance, the space between the life path number and the numerology or the other number. So 9 minus 1 is 8, which means that 8 is the gap. So anybody who is a life path 1 is going to be experiencing a gap of 8 in the year of 2025, which means that the 8 is going to reveal to them how it is they can achieve that potential of the 1. And when 8 shows up as a gap, it is an opportunity to expand your container. It is an opportunity to trust in yourself and others. It is an opportunity to delegate as well, to avoid drama, and to also avoid trying to do everything by yourself. So these kind of go hand in hand because the 1 is very, very independent. So that is how you would start to peel back the layers if you were a life path 1. From there, you can get more specific by looking at maybe how a life path 1 plays out in a specific month in 2025, a specific day, even a specific time. There's so many layers that you can continue to just peel back when it comes to numerology. So moving to the number 2, anyone who's a life path 2 is going to be experiencing the potential of 11. So 9 plus 2 is 11. And the gap of 7 is 9 minus 2 is 7. Now, the potential of 11 is one where we are able to connect deeper to the realms of spirit, God, source, universe, whatever it is that you want to put in that blank. When we are able to connect deeper with our own intuition. 11 is a number of imagination, of creativity. It is a number known to be of spiritual energy, enlightenment, or illumination. So the potential can be seen as kind of a spiritual development in the year of 2025 for a life path 2. Now, they can only reach this, or they have a better chance of reaching this, by navigating the gap of 7. And when 7 shows up as a gap, it is to be aware of the analytical mind, because 7 is the universal wisdom, 7 is the seeker. 7 is going to draw skepticism. 7 is going to overanalyze situations. 7 is going to want to look at logic. So the life path 2 has an invitation to trust deeper in the process, trust deeper in their own intuition throughout the year of 2025, to also navigate a balance between isolation and connection with others, because the 7 wants to be alone. That 7 energy is probably gonna tempt to kind of retreat and process and integrate and regulate, which are necessary. And also it's important to balance that energy between the space alone and the people that are close to you, or the connections that are nourishing to you, because being with people is actually something that you thrive off of as a life path 2. And if you lean too much towards the gap of the 7 in terms of how it can manifest, you tend to separate yourself from people. So it kind of contradicts what the two's essence is of desiring that connection. Now, the life path 3 is going to experience a potential of 12-3 and a gap of 6. Now, I say 12-3 because it's important to know what digits reduce to the final number. Side note, this is how we are able to determine the differences between people in numerology. It's being able to look at what are the components that make up that person's frequency. So when you calculate your life path number, you might see that you are a 27 before you are a 9, and somebody else might be a 36 before they are a 9, and somebody just might be a 9, and somebody might be an 18-9. And these different sets of numbers tell us the differences between each of these people. And if we want to take it a step further, we can look at the other aspects that are in the chart. So remember, there are several layers that we can explore when it comes to numerology. Back to the number 3 in the year 2025, they're going to be experiencing the potential of a 12-3. So that's because 9 plus 3 is 12, 1 and 2 reduces back to 3. Now their gap is 6. All right, so 12-3 as a potential. 3 is going to be curious, 3 is social, 3 is expressive. So as a potential, it's an opportunity to establish clear communication as well as more discernment in how it is we navigate our energy, right? Because as a 3, it's likely that you have energy that wants to go everywhere. You are excited, you are outgoing, you're a fun person, you're a creative person. 3 is also the number of magic. And there's a lot of energy that exudes from you and wants to go outward. Now it's important to guide this energy towards the things that you desire to create, so that way those things can be fulfilled as opposed to spreading yourself out very thin. And when 3 shows up as a potential, you have an opportunity to experience a deeper level of your own essence. So clear communication, more authentic expression, authentically expressed creativity and imagination as well. Now, how you navigate, how you achieve this is through the gap of 6, which is coming back to the self. If you look at the way the 6 is drawn, the line goes back into itself. So there's this invitation of, instead of having all this energy going out all the time, is how can you bring that energy back to you? And if you think back to what we just said about 2025's numerology, that's that first phase, is honoring the relationship that you have with yourself. So when you come back to yourself, when you pour back into you, when you fill your cup so you can give from the overflow, you feel more aligned, more excited, more at peace, more regulated, more energized, and thus you are able to focus clearly on the things that serve you and are going to support you on your path and your experience of life. As we move on to the number 4, we can start to kind of notice a trend, right? That every potential that is happening in 2025 with the cardinal numbers being 1 through 9, is the same as the number itself. And this comes from the energy of 9, right? So the energy of 9 is one that brings others back to themselves. In numerology, any number added to the number 9 was always going to go back to the same number that it was before. So 9 plus 1 is 10, 1 plus 0 is 1. 9 plus 5 is 14, 1 plus 4 is 5. 9 plus 6 is 15, 1 plus 5 is 6, so on and so forth. It will always go back, with the exception of the number 2, because 9 plus 2 is 11, and 11 is a master number. However, if you wanted to continue the reduction, 1 plus 1 would give you 2. So with that being said, we'll continue to move on to number 4, which is a life path that has a lot of opportunity in this year, as long as they are willing to step outside of their own made box, right? Because the potential of the life path 4 is the 13-4. Now, 13 is a number of karmic debt. It's the karmic debt of struggle, which means that the life path 4 has an opportunity to clear any essences, any remnants of any addiction or attachment or fixation to struggle or to making things hard. Now, this being a karmic debt, it's possible that this is not something that belongs to you as a life path 4. It could be something that you've inherited, something that's in your epigenetics, something that you have adopted along the way, something that could be written in a certain narrative in your mind, allowing you to believe that it's the way that things should be. Things do get to be easy if we are willing and able to lean in and shift our perspective. So you have an opportunity to release any struggle and establish a stronger, more harmonized sense of foundation, which is the energy of four, of stability, of trust, of loyalty. And this comes from navigating the gap of five, which is distraction. Five is distraction, five is temptation, and when it shows up as a gap, and five is also scattered energy. So here we get to lean back on the essences of the four, which is grounding in, remaining centered, remaining present, while at the same time, five is tempting, five is scattered, five is change, five is surprising, and five also tells us to enjoy what life is offering us. So while we are being mindful of the temptation, it's important to, as they say, stop and smell the roses and enjoy the process along the way, which sometimes as a life path four, you might not be used to or you might not think about because you have great work ethic and you prefer to get things done. Um, so keep that in mind as you navigate through this year to kind of be a bit more flexible, to enjoy your process as you move through it, because then you also get to let go of any struggle that you might be attaching to, that you might be calling in, that you might be creating, that might be presenting itself in your experience. Now, the life path five is going to go through something somewhat similar except inverted because we're looking at the opposite numbers right now. This time, the 5 is going to have a potential of 14.5, which is also a number of karmic debt. And they have a gap of 4. Now, the 14.5 karmic debt is the karmic debt of liberation. So the idea of feeling limited, which means that the life path 5 has the potential to release any energy of limitation in their experience, to release things that could be holding them back, be it people, places, situations, thoughts, behaviors, ideas, patterns. And they have an opportunity to enjoy even more out of life. Now, this is where a level of discernment comes in between what is enjoying life and what is indulging in life. And that is something that the 5 is going to navigate in this year through the gap of 4, because the 4 as a gap is rigidity, it is being stuck, and that itself will present a limitation towards a life path 5. So we get to evaluate our experience, the circumstances, what we're perceiving as limitation, what are we perceiving as pleasure, what are we perceiving as indulgence, and really practice a conscious choice that's always going to be in alignment with what it is that you desire to create. Now, the life path 6 is going to experience a potential of 15.6 and a gap of 3. So the 15.6 is not a karmic debt number. 6 is unconditional love, and we were talking about 6 that the 3 is going to be experiencing as a gap. Now, when experienced as a potential, it is an opportunity to experience even greater love for oneself, to establish clearer boundaries with yourself and with the energy that you exchange with other people. And it is an opportunity to develop a stronger relationship to yourself and others. 6 is that invitation to receive, right? So the 6, as having this as a potential, is invited to expand the level at which they can receive. And they get to navigate this through the gap of 3, which is going to be distraction, which is going to be superficiality. It's going to be a brushing off of emotions, an intent to overlook emotions, because the life path 6 is going to navigate quite a bit of emotion, as they normally do anyway, in the year of 2025. And throughout this process, it is super important for them to process the energy that they're experiencing so they can release it and they're not holding on to it. Because as a 6, it's easy for them to hold on to it. It's easy for them to latch on, to remember, to get attached, and that being a natural tendency within them is something that we get to be mindful of in a year where that frequency is going to be tested. So the life path 6 set gets to be clear with themselves, express their emotions clearly in what they're communicating and what they're experiencing, so they can choose themselves, establish clear boundaries, and experience just a deeper level of love for themselves. Now, the life path 7 is going to experience a potential of 16-7 and a gap of 2. Now, 16-7 is a karmic debt number, and 16 is the karmic debt of the phoenix, so the karmic debt of rebirth, which means that the life path 7 has an opportunity to step into a level of mastery when it comes to rebirth, ego death, dark night of the soul, those situations or energies that kind of are associated with that connotation. And it's an opportunity to see past the experience that they've been having. As a life path 7, it's possible that your life path is a 16-7, which means that you would experience this karmic debt more intensely. And that means there could be a lot of rise and fall in your life. And 2025 for a life path 7 could feel like there might be either one overall theme of like a big rebirth or rebranding or restarting, or it could seem like several small situations, small moments that would have that same energy. And having potential of a 16-7 gives you an opportunity to clear that karmic debt. So if you are a life path 7 that has a tendency to completely identify with those situations, victimize yourself, or lose yourself in that experience, then you have an opportunity to recontextualize how it is you navigate rebirth, which is another way to say transformation. So how are you contextualizing the experience of rebirth? Because it can be something beautiful once we learn to accept the process that's happening, because transformation, rebirth happens all the time. Even as a human being, from moment to moment, we are always changing. So how can we create an openness to that energy as opposed to resisting it? And that can be found in the vibration of 2, which is the 7's gap. The vibration of 2 as a gap is going to be, as we talked about in the numerology of the years, that relationship with themselves. Right? So how can we look at the relationship that we have with ourselves in the context of rebirth or transformation or change? Can you ask yourself, what do I let change say about me? What do I think change is to me? And 2 is also the number of support. So as a life path 7, quite independent and quite well at it. And in order to really master the potential that is presented in this year, there is an invitation to reach out for support. Be it physical from other people, be it astral or ancestral or wherever it is, there's an invitation to acquire support in order to navigate and clear this essence of karmic debt, and also just step into a better level, to a deeper level of mastery when it comes to transformation. Now, the life path 8 is going to experience a potential of the 17-8 and a gap of the number 1. So the potential of 17-8, we look at the 1 and the 7, the 1 of that new beginnings, and the 7 of universal wisdom, that deeper understanding, coming to the 8, which is expansion. It is the expansion of one's container. It is the assertion of personal authority over one's experience. It's also delegation. It is also objectivity. So as potential, the life path 8 has an opportunity to expand their perspective, to increase their capacity and how much it is they can receive and call in, to establish deeper levels of trust with themselves and others. And they do that by navigating the gap of 1, which is going to show up as possibly hyper independence, or the feelings of loneliness, or not having support. being alone, being stuck by one's self. So you get to keep that in mind as a life path 8, that you are a people person, and the 8 is continuously flowing, and the 8 is also round, right? The 8 is round and inviting. You get to connect with other people. You get to be mindful of this energy that can present itself, and at the same time still choose what it is that you desire and what it is that fills your cup. Now the life path 9 is going to be experiencing something interesting in the year 2025, because we have a vibration of 9 all year. So when we add those two nines, we have 18-9. And then when we subtract the two nines, we have the vibration of 0, which, if you remember in the beginning of the video when we talked about 2025's numerology, 0, it also has its own energy and vibration. So first we'll look at the potential, which is the 18-9. So the 18-9-1, again, we have the energy of beginnings, of leadership, of initiative, of independence. And then 8, which we just talked about, which is the expansion, it is the opportunity, it is receiving, it is delegation, it is objectivity. And then those reduce to the number 9, which is completion, endings, mastery, humanitarianism, self-sacrifice, priorities. So as a 9, the life path has an opportunity to step into a deeper level of mastery of themselves. And more importantly, when we look at this with reference of 2025, not just that it's a vibration of 9, we can infer that the life path 9 is going to really be called to organize their priorities this year. To organize their priorities this year, because that is largely due to the relationship that they have with themselves. And in doing so, they are going to experience that deeper level of mastery. Now, how do they establish these priorities? How do they get clear and experience this discernment that is going to support them on this process? 0, the gap of 0, which one can present itself or manifest as a glass ceiling, or feeling stuck, feeling like you don't know where you're going, or you don't know what it is that you want to do, like in this kind of limbo space. And 0 is also the pause. 0 is the now. 0 is the all. It's the void. It is creation itself. So we navigate the gap of 0 by dropping in and being with ourselves in that energy, while at the same time not losing sight of what our priorities are. Because it's a thin line. It's very easy for someone to just be like, oh, I'll just sit still, right? Someone can use it like, oh, it just means that I just got to sit and meditate all day, right? When then that's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying here is to connect with the energy, right? Connect with your own energy, with your own essence. Pause in the moments. Where are you distracting yourself? Is the question that you get to ask as a life path 9, is where are you distracting yourself? Where are you expending your energy mindlessly, quite possibly? Can you evaluate that and then practice some discernment? So those are the cardinal numbers. So cardinal numbers are 1 through 9. Then we also have the master numbers that are 11, 22, and 33. Now, some numerologists don't observe all 3 master numbers. So some people, if you get a calculation of a 33, somebody might tell you you're a 6. Some people do observe additional numbers like the 10. I've heard of people being on life path 10. Now, this is not the numerology that I follow, that I've studied, and that I teach. I have nothing against that numerology. I am a firm believer that if what you believe in works for you, then I'll do it. And you're not hurting anybody, go for it. So, however, I do observe 3 master numbers, 11, 22, and 33. So if your date of birth reduces to one of those numbers, then your life path number is a little bit different, and you're looking at some different numbers for 2025. Now, the life path 11 is, we're going to follow the same operation. So the life path 11 is going to have a potential of 20/2. I used to say 22, and then people thought I was saying 22, like the number 22. It's 20 backslash 2, because 20 is the number that reduces to the 2. Okay, so 20, we have 2 and 0. So remember what we just said about the 0. Remember 2 from relationships, diplomacy, tact, deeper level of relationship and connection to one's self, and a greater relationship with the energy of support. So this is available for a life path 11, which is a life path that could be taken off with their imagination often, that could get distracted, or that could be more strongly affected by the energies that surround them. 11 life paths are quite sensitive, be it emotionally or energetically. And they get to achieve this potential of 2 through, interestingly enough, a gap of 2, because 11 minus 9 is also 2. So this is an interesting paradox that some numbers experience depending on what the corresponding frequency is, whether it's the day, the year, another person. And when your gap and your potential are the same, you get to look at all aspects of that single digit. So all of the positive aspects and all of the negative aspects. Air quotes because I don't like contextualizing numbers, positive or negative. So these aspects of the vibration of 2 is deeper relationship with self, support, okay with not being in the spotlight. So like humility, connection, diplomacy, refinement, tact. The other side, emotionally sensitive, physically sensitive, energetically sensitive, not able to think for one's self, people pleasing. So all of these are present throughout the entire year for the life path 11. And this is asking the 11 to come down to earth, like to ground in, because the 11 can be taken off by its imagination, can get distracted, can have these grandiose ideas or plans about things, when the invitation might be to come here now. Be here now in this year of 2025. That invitation is to be here now so you can really establish a deeper relationship with yourself. Right? Sometimes we're always focusing on the higher self and focusing on the higher self and focusing on the higher self, and there can be an invitation here to focus on this self and the improvement, the betterment, the enjoyment, the life of this self, because they are all the same, and we get to remember that and treat them as that, all those selves. Now, the life path 22. So the 22 is going to have a potential of 31.4. 22 plus 1 is 31.4, and a gap of 13.4. So these numbers are inverted. As a potential of 34, there's deeper expression, greater communication, an opportunity to establish better foundation, certainty and conviction, clarity in what it is they are looking to create. It's also good for direction for number 22, helping them get grounded. Now, the gap as a 13.4 could be that attachment to struggle, which means that in this year, it's possible that it will manifest as continuous struggle or a large struggle in the year of 2025 as a life path 22. So we get to navigate how we are fixating on struggle, how we can kind of get flexible and break outside of that box, and be present with the experience as opposed to always trying to get so far ahead. Because as a 22, you're that grounded visionary that can see the big picture and sees the whole plan and all the pieces that get to come together, and we get to be here now, which similar message that the 11 is getting. And interestingly enough, the 33 also experiences or receives a similar message. As a life path 33, you will experience a potential of the 42.6 and the gap of 24.6. So 42.6 has a potential. We have the groundedness of the 4, we have the stability, we have the structure, we have the safety and security. And then the 2, we have that diplomacy, the tact, the refinement, the support. And then together we have the vibration of 6, which is unconditional love, filling the cup, strong, clear boundaries, great navigation and moderation of one's energy with others as well. Then the gap of 24 is basically going to look to polarize the potential of 42. So we can look at what is going to counteract this, vice versa. So these aspects are going to counteract these aspects, which means the 2 and 4 from 24. 2 is going to be that sensitivity. It's going to be not being able to think for oneself. It's going to be kind of hiding as well. And then 4 is going to be stuck in their ways, very boxed in, very structured, very closed off. So if you polarize those aspects, meaning as for you open yourself up, you allow yourself to be more fluid, you are here now while remaining grounded and not losing yourself in the day to day. And then in the 2 is like not hiding, meaning not bypassing the experiences that are being presented to you, and also connecting to support for yourself as well as supporting other people is going to fill that cup. So it's all coming back to the vibration of 6, which can be found from 42.6 and 24.6. And if you were to continue to reduce 33, which we don't in intuitive numerology, we would also get another 6. And the vibration of 6, first and foremost, is unconditional love. So as a life path 33, which is the vibration of the great teacher that is always giving to others, always very, very generous, you get to give back to yourself. You get to fill that cup, and how you do it is by following that invitation from 24.6. So follow the invitation from the 24.6, honor your boundaries, choose yourself, and in doing so, you experience the 42.6, right? The potential that this year is offering you. So, like I said, there are always layers, and we can always go deeper when it comes to somebody's personal numerology. We can look at specific digits. We can look at how it is in one month versus another month. Why is it that I'm a life path 7 and Bob is a 7, but he's experiencing this year differently than I? All of this can be found in numerology. So check out the Life Path ebook, download that so you can figure out what your life path number is. Come back to this video, do your operations, and then drop in the comments what your numbers for 2025 are and how you plan to take action on that. So thanks for watching and stay tuned for more. Peace.